I'm very pleased to be here at this Bruges Group conference, even if only in virtual form. The Bruges Group is an important organisation, and for many years it's provided the intellectual weight behind the argument in favour of British independence. And its efforts bore fruit when in June 2016 the UK voted to leave the European Union. Speaking personally, that was the proudest moment of my political life. After all, we've been told by the government, we've been told by the media and all sorts of other important vested interests that if we were to leave, there would be an immediate disaster. There would be a recession, there would be mass unemployment, and the United Kingdom would become an international pariah. Nevertheless, despite those warnings, the British people displayed the sort of stubbornness and good judgment for which they are renowned and decided that they wanted to leave. And of course, the result is that once again we have recovered our sovereignty. The United Kingdom now sees its laws made in the British Parliament by British MPs, and those laws are interpreted by British judges sitting in British courts. Sovereignty is a precious pearl, and the Bruges Group has played a huge part in recovering that sovereignty. And when I look back over the last 7 and a bit years, I find it quite extraordinary that we have had such a fight to recover our independence. I don't think that any of us, of course, thought that the EU would be best pleased that an important member state had the temerity to decide to leave the EU and remove itself from the orbit of Brussels. But I don't think any of us thought how much stubborn, vicious resistance there would be to our simply exercising our rights under Article 50 of the Treaty on European Union. But so it was. And I still bear the political scars on my back of those meaningful votes, that series of votes when, with a dwindling number of my colleagues, I defied the whip and rejected the fudge that was the Chequers arrangement. So we have recovered our sovereignty, and we are now free to make our way in the world. And we're already seeing the benefits of that. We've got free trade agreements with Australia and New Zealand. Soon, I hope, there'll be one with India. And I think most importantly, we've joined the Trans-Pacific Partnership, that organization of dynamic, emerging economies which are providing an increasing share of the global economy. That's something that we could not have done had we remained part of the EU. So there's a lot to celebrate, and I'm sure you will be celebrating it at this conference today. But we do, of course, have to strike one word of caution. Brexit is largely completed, but there is more work to be done, and I'm talking, of course, about the position over Northern Ireland. The Northern Ireland Protocol, which has now morphed into the so-called Windsor Framework, means that Northern Ireland is still tied to EU regulations in terms of the trade in goods. And although we were assured that the framework would remove all sense of a border in the Irish Sea, I'm told by Northern Irish shippers that that border is very much in existence, and that most trucks that enter Northern Ireland have to go through the so-called red lane in the ports of Larne and Belfast. And worse than that, of course, the province of Northern Ireland remains subject to EU laws and regulations, and it remains subject to the jurisdiction of the ECJ, which, of course, is the matter which is most important, because it's probably fair to say that EU sovereignty resides in that European Court of Justice. So we have to continue the struggle. And I've no doubt that the Bruges Group will be making its own contribution and suggesting ways in which that residual element of loss of British sovereignty is removed, and we once again become a complete United Kingdom, completely governed by our own laws and subject to our own rules, and not subject to the diktats of a foreign administration and the jurisdiction of a foreign court. That work has to be done. Nevertheless, Let's celebrate what we have achieved. We have got a fight that will have to continue, but we have won a huge number of battles already. Bruges Group, thank you so much for everything that you've done, and I wish you well in this tremendous conference today.